Welcome back to Exposure Stories. The room was quiet except for the low hum of machines and the soft flicker of data streaming across a monitor. A researcher leaned in, eyes fixed on the screen, and whispered 4 words that would quietly fracture decades of scientific certainty. This isn't supposed to be possible. The artificial intelligence system had just completed its analysis of over 9,000 recordings of sperm whale communication. What it uncovered was not random noise, nor a simple set of repetitive signals. Instead, it revealed something structurally indistinguishable from the foundational elements of human language, a phonetic system with components that behaved like vowels. Not similar in a vague, metaphorical sense, but functionally identical in their role within a larger communicative structure. No one in that moment could fully explain how such a system could exist in a species so evolutionarily distant from us, living in an environment so radically different from our own. For decades, the scientific consensus had been settled, almost complacently so. Sperm whales were believed to communicate using about 21 distinct patterns of clicks known as codas. Each coda was thought to represent a fixed meaning, a warning, a directional cue, a social signal. The prevailing model treated whale communication as something akin to a traffic light, limited, predefined, and fundamentally simple. Researchers categorized, labeled, and moved on, assuming the system was understood. But that assumption, as it turned out, was not just incomplete, it was profoundly wrong. What had been dismissed as repetitive signals were actually sequences composed of smaller, meaningful units. These units behaved less like fixed messages and more like the building blocks of a flexible, generative system. The unraveling of this assumption began almost accidentally. A marine biologist, reviewing old recordings for an unrelated project, listened again to the familiar rapid-fire clicks. They sounded mechanical, almost like underwater Morse code. Nothing new, nothing surprising. But when a passing cryptographer overheard the audio, she paused. To her trained ear, this wasn't background noise. It was structure. It was pattern. It was code. Her question was simple but transformative. Had anyone tried using machine learning to decode it? The answer was no. Despite decades of recordings, no one had applied the full power of modern AI to this data. That moment sparked a collaboration that would grow into a multi-institutional effort, bringing together experts in artificial intelligence, linguistics, marine biology, and robotics. Over the next several years, the project expanded in both ambition and scale. A dedicated research station was established in a region of the Caribbean where sperm whale families had been observed for generations. These whales were not anonymous data points. Many were known individually, their social structures mapped and documented over decades. The research team deployed an array of advanced technologies designed to capture not just sound, but context. Hydrophones recorded underwater audio continuously. Tags attached to whales collected synchronized acoustic data, movement patterns, depth information, and spatial positioning. Every click could now be linked to a specific individual, a specific moment, and a specific social interaction. The goal was no longer just to record communication, but to understand it within the full richness of its context. When the AI finally processed the dataset, the results were staggering. Instead of 21 codas, it identified 156 distinct patterns. But the number itself was less important than what those patterns contained. Each coda was not a single, indivisible signal, but a composition of smaller elements, variations in tempo, rhythm, and additional clicks layered in consistent ways. These elements functioned like phonemes in human language, units that carry no meaning on their own but combine according to rules to create meaning. This meant sperm whales were not simply selecting from a fixed set of messages, they were constructing communication dynamically. They were, in effect, generating language. The implications of this are difficult to overstate. Human language is built on a finite set of sounds that can be combined into an effectively infinite range of expressions. Remove or alter those sounds, and entire categories of meaning disappear. What the AI revealed is that sperm whales appear to operate on the same principle. Their clicks form a modular system governed by combinatorial rules, capable of producing a vast and flexible range of outputs. This is not a simple signaling system. It is a generative one, with a complexity that begins to approach the defining characteristics of language itself. Further analysis pushed the boundaries even more. When researchers examined the acoustic properties of individual clicks at an extremely fine resolution, they found patterns that resembled vowel sounds, specifically, structures analogous to human vowels and even diphthongs. These are not trivial features. In humans, vowel production requires precise control of airflow and vocal tract configuration, supported by specialized anatomy and neural mechanisms. The fact that sperm whales, using an entirely different biological system based on echolocation clicks, could produce functionally similar acoustic features suggests something profound. It points to convergent evolution at a level of complexity rarely observed. Two entirely separate evolutionary paths arriving at a similar solution for complex communication. This challenges one of the most deeply held assumptions about human uniqueness. Language, particularly its phonetic and grammatical structure, has long been considered a defining feature of human cognition. But if another species, separated from us by millions of years of evolution and living in a completely different sensory world, has developed a system with comparable structural properties, then language may not be uniquely human after all. It may instead be a natural outcome of intelligence under certain conditions. Yet structure alone is not meaning. Despite these breakthroughs, researchers have not translated a single word. They have mapped the architecture of the system, the alphabet, the rules, the patterns, but they do not yet know what any specific sequence signifies. Bridging that gap requires correlating sounds with behavior, building a dataset rich enough to link specific vocalizations to specific contexts. This is painstaking work, requiring years of observation and analysis. But with each new recording, the picture becomes slightly clearer. What has emerged already, however, is evidence of contextual communication. Individual whales alter their vocalizations depending on who they are addressing and what is happening around them. Conversations unfold with timing, turn-taking, and variation that resembles human interaction. There are patterns that suggest social roles, relationships, and possibly even emotional nuance. These are not isolated signals. They are exchanges embedded within a social framework. The implications extend beyond science into ethics and law. If sperm whales possess a form of language, then they are not just intelligent animals. They are communicative beings with cultures, relationships, and possibly shared knowledge passed across generations. This reframes how we understand their lives and, by extension, how we treat them. Human activity in the oceans, shipping, sonar, industrial noise, may not just be disrupting animal behavior, it may be interfering with a complex system of communication, effectively silencing conversations that have been ongoing for millions of years. As the research continues, one question looms larger than all the rest. What are they saying? For decades, perhaps centuries, these whales have been communicating in a system we are only now beginning to recognize. They have witnessed changes in their environment, interactions with humans, and the gradual transformation of the oceans. If their communication system truly encodes meaning in a way comparable to language, then within it may lie perspectives, experiences, and knowledge entirely outside human understanding. The technology is advancing. The data is growing. The first translated sentence may not be far off. And when it arrives, it will not just be a scientific milestone. It will be a moment that forces humanity to reconsider its place in the natural world, not as the sole bearer of language and complex thought, but as one of multiple voices on a planet that has been speaking all along.